Donald Trump won the Electoral College, that is it. However, the favourite comment that I had from somebody was they said that all the journalists took Donald Trump literally with what he said, but not seriously, whereas the voters took him seriously, but not literally. They didn't care if this policy or that policy was contradictory or whatever. They didn't care about that. What they cared for was that he stood for anti-political correctness. They were so tired of being trodden on and sat on by the establishment and not listened to that they said, let's give the showman a chance, and that's what's happened. And I will say that with one exception, I think that Donald Trump is appointing some very, very good people to his cabinet. It may not be, the name may be Mad Dog Mattis, but this guy is a boss, and I am really encouraged by the shape of this cabinet so far.
Any views from our audience? Yes, the woman there in the fourth row on the right.
Hasn't Donald Trump legitimised locker room talk about women on an absolutely unacceptable level? He's also legitimised now saying one thing in politics as long as it gets a vote and then doing something completely different. So it's all right to say all of these things if you're a politician. Once you get elected, you can do whatever you want. That's what he's legitimised.
Richard Bergen, what do you think of that?
Well, I was disappointed when Donald Trump got given this award, not least because some of the things that he has said about women, absolutely outrageous, misogynistic things, not least because of some of the things he said about immigrants and people of ethnic minority background. He didn't say that not one single extra Muslim should be allowed in the United States. But ultimately, I think the thing about Donald Trump is this. He's raised people's hope through a fake, anti-elitist approach. I believe, unlike Nigel, that he will disappoint. He railed against the bankers. He railed against the current economic way of doing things, but then appoints somebody from Goldman Sachs into a top position. So I don't think it's a welcome thing. And I am surprised to see Nigel trumpeting Trump so much. He's trumpeted him so much, he's now in a situation where he has to decide his own future, whether to be a Tory lord or Trump's butler.
Is that the choice you face?
No, I don't think it is. No, I mean, the thing is, I do know Trump. I did support Trump in the campaign. I spoke with him on a platform. I completely accept, that he says things that shock everybody. But he also apologises, which is interesting. Very few people in politics ever apologise. He rode back on that Muslim comment in quite a big way. He apologised for locker room talk. I agree with you. It was unacceptable. But he has shown he's able to say, I'm sorry, I went too far. As far as our relationship with him is concerned, just remember this.
Our or your?
Our relationship. As a country. As a country. Right, yeah. This is a strong Anglophile president of the USA. He likes this country, he admires this country, he wants us to get back to having an even, well, not just a special relationship, an even better one, starting with a free trade deal. And I think this government, having been so rude about him, virtually every cabinet member was rude about him during the campaign, I think that they need to eat some humble pie, go and see him as quickly as they can, and let's get cracking with a new relationship.
He likes Russia quite a lot.
Well, it's interesting.
Putin's politics.
He doesn't want to go to war with Russia, and it's very interesting that we have Hillary, we have the European Union, we have the political class in this country all want Putin to be the enemy. Very keen to go on provoking Putin. I wouldn't want to live in Putin's Russia any more than you would, but I do think Trump's idea, he'll get on a plane, well, his plane, of course, and he will go to Moscow and sit down and talk with people. That is a much better way to deal with international affairs than to provoke Russia by trying to get the Ukraine to join the EU and NATO.
All right.
I think we've made some very bad mistakes here.
Nigel, thank you very much. Sarah Wallace, I want to bring you in. Nigel just said almost every politician in this country made the great mistake of insulting him. You agree with that?
Well, I was one of the people that felt that if you are going to exclude all Muslims from this country, from the States, why should he be allowed a free pass here? And I'm glad he apologised for that. Did he apologise for stereotyping all Mexicans as rapists, for example? I think some of his divisive, nasty politics, it's really depressing. And isn't it terrible that we're starting from such a low baseline that what we're hoping for is that he doesn't carry out any of his promises?
OK, and you, sir? Yes?
just bringing it back to this about the locker room talk and everything like that. Yes, Trump has said one thing and he's done another. Politicians have been doing this for hundreds of years. They always will. The difference with Trump is that he's honest about it, and like Nigel just said, he apologises when he gets it wrong.
OK, and you, sir, and then we're going to go on, because we can't... Yes, you, sir.
Don't the extreme results and characters that we've seen this year reflect a lack of ability of mainstream politics to provide a moderate response to genuine concerns of many people?
Will Self, do you agree with that?
Well, I think things are changing very, very fundamentally. And yes, I think that in a way our politics hasn't been responsive enough to the popular will in the past. There's no question about that. But whether the solution to that is to start electing people who have the views that Trump has, I'm not quite so sure that that's the case.
Right. And you in the front here.
I just personally feel that everyone in the world now is getting so disillusioned by what's going on. Everyone needs some sort of change. And I think the people like Trump and yourself and all that have stirred it up, if that's the wrong word to use, because everyone is so confused about what's going on in the world, with Brexit and what's happening in, China and Japan and all those sort of places. And I just think we need to have someone that's there to sort of kind of be a central point to sort of try and even out.
Yes, Sarah.
There are other voices. This year we heard someone say that we have far more in common with each other than that which divides us. And that person was Jo Cox, and frankly she should have been Person of the Year.
Right. OK, well... 10 minutes on Trump is enough, I think, for tonight. We're just a word, we're going to be back after Christmas with Question Time in Solihull and Peterborough, or Solihull if you prefer it. And if you'd like to join the audience, the address is there. I'll give it again at the end, so just make a note if you want it. And let's go on to the other topic of the year, Oscar Huxley.
Do you think a deal for Brexit could realistically be achieved in 2 years?
Sorry, can you say it again, because the microphone didn't quite reach you? Yes, try again.
Do you think a deal for Brexit could realistically be achieved in 2 years?
Can the deal be achieved in 2 years, which is what the leaders of the negotiations in Europe are saying it has to be? Is it too complicated? Richard Bergen.
Well, in order to get a deal in the first place, what we need is a plan. And that's why I was so pleased that yesterday in Parliament, Labour MPs forced the agenda so that at long last Theresa May has agreed to put a plan before the British people, and that's really, really important. It's taken a long time, but they're going to publish a plan before the 31st of March. Of course it's complicated. A binary choice was given in the EU referendum. 48% of people, of course, voted to remain. 52% voted to leave. But what we need now is a plan. Britain should leave the European Union because Britain voted to leave the European Union. Labour will vote to trigger Article 50. We will hold the government to account, not to ransom. But what we need to do is stop talking like the Liberal Democrats are about the 48%, stop talking like UKIP are about the 52%, and let's bring people together. Let's talk about the 100% and move forward as a country for a post-Brexit Britain that works in the interests of everyone in our country.
Well, that's fine. It's fine words, but can you get that by October 2018, in your view, in a way that you want, when the House of Commons may well be divided over what is negotiated?
Well, it is possible, but nothing in politics and nothing in economics is certain. Of course it's going to be complex, but what we need is a situation where a blank cheque isn't given to Theresa May, an unelected Prime Minister, to do what she wishes. People have voted by majority to leave the European Union, therefore we need to leave the European Union. But I think voices from all sides of the House of Commons and voices from right across the country, both from the 48% and the 52%, need to be heard if we're going to get any kind of deal that keeps this country together.
Sarah Wollaston, what's your view of the politics of this and whether it'll all be achieved within the 2 years?
It's immensely complex. I think it will take 2 years. But there are things that we need to get on with straight away. We need to get on with sorting out the status of EU nationals living in the UK already and British nationals living in Europe. And I hope that that will be the first priority. But also, we've got to keep the tone friendly. I think that having a belligerent tone against our European partners isn't helpful. And we need to keep the tone right and positive because it's in all of our interests for this to be a friendly separation. We want to be good neighbours.
But do you think that Conservative and Labour will come together to agree what's on offer, or is there...
Well, I'm an optimist.
2 years from now, we're going to be divided on it.
I'm an optimist that people will see on both sides of the channel and across political parties that this is too serious for it to become a divisive issue, and we must work together in the national interest.
All right. Well, Nigel Farage, do things that are too serious not become divisive?
I mean, 6 months have nearly gone by since the referendum. We've wasted all this time already. You know, had the Prime Minister shown real leadership, triggered Article 50, we wouldn't be going through court cases. We'd actually be getting on with the process. And my concern is that we trigger Article 50 in March. That's what the House of Commons agreed to do. And if we spend 2 years negotiating this, that'll be another net £20 billion we paid away. It'll be another, at current rates, at least 500,000 people who come to settle in this country, net. But more crucially, it'll be lost opportunities. I talked about America earlier. There are 24 countries since we left the EU that have come to us and said, we want to have a trade deal with the United Kingdom. It's very difficult for us to do any of that whilst we're going through this process. So I would say this, if we wanted to, we could leave in 2 weeks. If we wanted to. We could just say, that's it, we're leaving, we'll trade with you on WTO rules. The reason it's going to take a long time is because my impression is that this government and most people in Parliament want us to stay in the single market. And I think we're going to finish up in the spring of 19, effectively with a Norwegian-type deal, which is not what the people of this country voted for. But that, I think, is where it's going to go.
So, Nigel Farage, when you said, as you did, a 52-48 result would be unfinished business...
I didn't for me, no. I said within the Conservative Party, it would be unfinished business. What was clear...
Sorry, no, my question isn't... Yeah. My question is, right, maybe you did or didn't say that, but the question is whether, if that's so, what you're saying now, which is that it's going to be a Norwegian-style deal, which is not what we wanted, what's going to happen then?
Well, I think that if we don't get our fishing waters back, we don't get our passports back, we don't get away from the European Court of Justice having the ability to rule on our businesses, our industries, and if we don't get back the ability to make our own trade deals,